welcome to those of you that are here. It's really appreciative that you spend the last kind of hour of your day with us, helping us develop the Cultural Rucksack programme. And these culture meets are take place once a term for primaries and for secondaries, and we are just really hoping that you get something from this session, that you find ways to connect with each other, that you're able to talk about the things that are on your mind, that are concerning you, but essentially that we kind of are all motivating each other to develop really art-rich schools in Nottingham, and support you to do that. So if we normally will kick off with some partner updates, 5 minute slots from our partners that are here to tell you how you can connect with them and their programmes, and then we'll go on to some presentations from Martin around the Cultural Rucksack development and the ways that you can get involved. So if I kick off by inviting various people to share the things that they have currently going on for schools. There are a few new faces as well, so it'd be really great for you to meet each other and connect following this session. So if I firstly come to Stephen, who's new at the National Justice Museum. So Stephen, can you give an overview of the things that you do and your role and how teachers can connect with you?
Of course, yeah. So Stephen Oliver, I left education, secondary school teaching of English to take the learner manager job at the National Justice Museum. And that is kind of what's feeding into what we've got coming up. So what we currently offer are an absolutely extensive range of justice and criminology based workshops where you can come and have courtroom sessions in our Victorian courtroom. And we also have museum tours and historical tours and tours about things like capital punishment. And so we explore topics such as the suffragettes, protest, riots. We have actual court cases that have been put through the system, and the children can debate and they can come in and they take roles as the judge, the jury, and they basically fulfill those roles within the courtroom. Usually students come for a courtroom session and a museum session, and we've had quite emotive, evocative things where we've done murder trials down in Narrowmarsh, which is our sort of interactive Victorian section. And we also have tours for older students of the capital punishment section where you can stand on a real set of gallows just above it. You can see images of people who have been executed by the state in different countries in the world. And around that as well, we have lots of sort of debates and conversations about should this come back. And we also have interactive interpreters who act as like jailers from the Georgian era and Victorian matrons, and they kind of add to the mood. And we usually start our tours down in our oubliette, which is about 35 metres below the street level, and is where people were thrown in to effectively die. And there was a nice little waiting room next to it while you waited for the other occupant to die. So it's quite a serious, gritty, almost traumatic building in a way. But it really does inspire a lot of thought. So on that basis, what we're building into in our new educational offerings for GCSE years in particular are English specific workshops. So down the line will come creative writing workshops for writing to describe, like descriptive writing for English GCSE, because a lot of students struggle with that. So it'll be work in school and then coming and taking part in the historical environment of the building, brainstorming, gathering emotive language, and then going back to school for the next lesson to actually write something. But before that, we are doing a season, if you will, of English literature, where we're going to put Macbeth and Lady Macbeth on trial in the courtroom. And students who are maybe struggling a bit to understand the context of the novel will get a riff on an AQA exam question, such as who's most guilty of the atrocities in the play, and they'll come and actually meet Lady Macbeth and Macbeth, put them on trial, be the jury, be the judge, be the prosecution and defendants, and then basically get to see who they think is guilty. And they'll do pre-work and post-work for that as well. And we're going to do the same for an inspector calls and the same for a Christmas Carol. And schools will be able to opt into one, or they could buy season pass for all three. And we're kind of opening that up as an adaptive thing that we grow with schools so that students can come in. And maybe if they're that borderline pass student who's just disengaged from one of the texts, it'll be a fabulous chance for them to come and see it. And hopefully as well, if funding allows, we'll be branching into an outreach program of education, where we take some of our exhibits and themes out to schools and do workshops or assemblies virtually or in person in schools. The last thing that I will be absolutely attacked for if I don't mention is we have a Choice and Consequences exhibit, which is in league with the Ben Kinsella Anti-Knife Crime Trust. And it's an incredibly hard-hitting and emotive section of the museum in the old police station, where you effectively go on a tour of learning about knife crime and then seeing a victim of knife crime before he was killed, and he was 16 when he was killed in 2008. And basically he wrote for his old GCSE coursework 4 months before he was killed. He wrote a story about what it'd be like to be the victim of knife crime, and a letter to Gordon Brown, who was the PM then, about the risks of knife crime, and then he was a victim of it. And it's a celebration of his life, but then it's footage of him after he has been attacked. And it's really hard hitting, and they are fully funded places. So we have thousands of pounds to pay for small intervention groups of kids who maybe are in your school and at risk of falling into gang culture or knife crime culture. And that is all year, that is constantly there, and definitely worth getting in touch for. And that's quite bespoke. We can tailor it to what your needs are. So we have everything from primary school mini police coming to criminology students at Nottingham Trent Uni. So aside from that, if you think there's a project you want to get in touch for your subject in particular, or there's just an area you're interested in, we're kind of flexible really, with enough notice, sort of in my head I'm saying about a month and a half, we can put together something very bespoke for you that we don't already offer. So, and if you want to get in touch with me, I'm on Twitter on the Education National Justice Museum, or you can, I'll put my email in the chat in a moment and you can just email me directly. Thank you.
Amazing. Martha, I think there's a question for you, Stephen.
Less of a question. Fantastic offer, Stephen. Brilliant. In fact, Kirsty and I were sitting there glowing to hear about the Shakespeare stuff, because we were part of a pilot project where we went to the National Justice Museum and we worked on Macbeth. I think there was Prospero, I think was another, there was Tempest, and possibly one other, I can't remember. But I do remember it being a really interesting project. What do you think, Kirsty?
Definitely, the kids really enjoyed it. I came out with loads of ideas of things I'd want to use it with my GCSE sort of level groups as well, as a sort of stimulus to create work. I just then didn't have any time, lockdowns and COVID came, that nothing then came from that. So it's lovely to have that all reignited as ideas in my head.
We're kind of seeing it as the Teach Like a Champion model, where we create booklets where the students can have it in school, have it in the museum, have it back in school. So they actually have a revision guide, if you will. And having taught English, I found students really struggle to understand Shakespeare beyond the language. And if they get to physically meet the characters who before the court case are actually going to be locked up in the cells down in the basement, and they can go and interview them, I thought that'd be quite interesting and like real for them. And maybe ignore the language, they can learn that in school, but get into grips with the story and the plot.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, looks good.
Keep in mind, because we're looking for trial schools, so.
Just one other thought is that I also have a GCSE teenager in the house who will have sat his first religious studies GCSE on Monday. And one of the topics is crime and punishment. And I just wondered whether you targeted or thought about targeting religious studies teachers, and if you could send me a link, I'd be happy to forward that across to all the trust schools that we work with. Because that might be another way of accessing people.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, and I definitely will send you that link when I get back tomorrow. We do offer extensive crime and punishment themed workshops. I guess if I was thinking GCSE specific, they're probably not tailored enough, but they'd be an easy thing to tailor so that they are very specific. The idea that I think it's very hard in my memory to get permission to take a GCSE class out. So the idea of like it being almost an unmissable event, that's kind of what I want it to be. So yeah, I'll definitely get in touch with you tomorrow about that.
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult to get GCSE out, but crime and punishment is definitely a thread throughout the whole of religious studies. So it might be that over the summer, if there's a way of getting hold of the objectives of you know, curriculum design work on that area, then that would probably make for a really interesting Year 9 visit in the first instance.
That'd be great. Yeah, thank you for that.
And I've got one doing history, and crime and punishment is right through there too. So yeah,
we'll be forward.
that was a really, really brilliant update, Steve, and brilliant to see the changes that you're making already with just a few weeks in, really. So it's fabulous. Thank you. Can I come over to Hilk, who I think this is your first Culture Meet, so I'm really, really delighted to welcome you. And for those that are here, would really love to hear a bit more about your work and the kinds of things that you do. So yeah, fire away.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to be here. It's the first time for me working with secondary schools in England, really. I do have training as a secondary school teacher in Germany, but back then I was still doing math and religious education. I'm now working very differently. I'm a book artist, and together, so what is book art? Book art is really an interdisciplinary thing where craft, art, and whatever subject you want to bring in come together. And Nottingham is city of literature, and yet book and the book as an art object are not really celebrated and known. And this is why myself and a partner, well, just partner in cooperation here, Jenny Stevenson from Derby, we want to change that. And we started a Notts Book Arts Festival that's going to happen for the first time this autumn, where we want to show all kinds of book arts. Most people, when I mention this, think of illustration, which is part of this, but it's actually a very small part of what book art can be. And yeah, so what we want to do with secondary schools is we're going to start a book arts competition for young people aged 11 to 18 in the Midlands. So anyone who thinks they live in the Midlands could participate. We're not going to police that. And what they're going to do is, so one characteristicum, I'm a bit mixed my thoughts here. I struggle to find a red thread. So the thing of book arts is that the book is the art, and the content and the way you present it and the book binding all come together to form combined a piece of art. It's not writing that then just gets delivered in the book format, but while writing, you should think about, for example, if a character has secret thoughts, maybe you put that behind a flap or something that the reader has to discover, or so there could be movable elements in there, or you have to think about what you make your book of. It wouldn't necessarily have to be paper, and it doesn't necessarily have to have a codex format. And thinking about all this obviously is too much. So we're giving them some kind of constraints. There's one book format. So the competition is take one sheet of paper or another material, and we have instructions online of how to make a simple book from that. This looks like this. It's just, you don't need any materials, tools. You start with just a piece of paper and you fold it and you have a book. And yeah, what can you make of that? I'm currently filming a series of 2-minute videos that we can put up on TikTok, where I try to explain that you can play with the format of the thing, the way it's constructed. When you pull it apart, it has a space here in the middle. Can you use that if you, for example, had a story about a pupil sitting in a toilet and thinking things, then maybe you could draw him in the middle of this thing. Or you could cut windows and have look into it somehow. We want to encourage them for the book in the end, to really have a story, but we mean story in a very, very broad sense. It could be a series of abstract paintings if it's about atmosphere. One of the key things to really think about is that other than a painting on the wall, it should have some development. So if you could swap around the images and it doesn't really matter, then probably you're not having a story. But it wouldn't have to be words on the page, but it can very well be words on the page. That's up to them. And we're hoping to introduce the art form this way, but also encourage pupils to engage with books in a new way and maybe discover their voice and maybe even lose a bit of fear of words on the page, and find a new way to approach this.
Amazing. So how do people get involved? Do you want us to, we can distribute something out to our secondaries network? When's the competition running?
That's great. Yeah, we have now a flyer ready. It's running, so we really just have a deadline of 31st of August when entries end, but we haven't advertised it yet. We're envisioning it as something that would be done over the summer break. Yeah, if you could distribute that would be great. We're currently looking up secondary schools to send it to them. I'm still thinking about how we could reach maybe also homeschool children. You said you might be able to put some flyers into your cupboards.
The craft cupboards and art packs.
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for coming and telling us all about it. If there's any other details,
for a bit jumbled thoughts, I wasn't quite prepared.
Please feel free to use the chat to add your email address if anyone has any questions, or
oh yes, thank you,
or your website and things, so people can look you up as artists as well. That's brilliant. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
Can I come over to Hannah from the Music Hub now?
Yes, you can, and my thoughts are bound to be even more jumbled, so I'll see how I get on. Yeah, I mean, we send regular communications around to schools, so your music leads will be the people who are receiving those along with admin teams, but just a few highlights and headlines, if you like. We are past the deadline now for booking provision for next year, so if anybody would like some provision for next year in their school, please do get in touch. I'll pop my email into the chat in a moment, but it's very straightforward. It's just hannah.bars@nottinghammusichub.org.uk for those watching back. So we've got pretty much any instrument you can think of in terms of instrumental teaching. There are also schools who have very much deeper bespoke packages that we've put together for them, which also include ensembles, for example, and various other things. Anybody signing up to work with us, and even those who do not, are very welcome also to join in with our events and activities throughout the year. So, for example, coming up over the next few months, we have the Summer Sing, for example, for choirs in schools. That's both primary and secondary school choirs. We've also got a variety of different instrumental and orchestral events coming up, particularly tied in with the visit of our partner youth orchestra who are coming over from Karlsruhe in July. So lots of events going along alongside that as well. We're also going to be pestering you, I'm afraid to say, for data, which is something we have to do every year, so apologies in advance, but it is important. The Arts Council and DFE do insist that we gather this data together, and it is important because we need to make sure that we're doing all that we can to reflect in the work that we do the very many different communities and ages and genders and of all the children that we work with in Nottingham City. So it's really important that we keep an eye on exactly who it is that we're working with. So yes, please excuse me for sending these out, but yes, I will be chasing you for those kinds of things. In terms of events coming up, there are two that I'd like to talk to you about. One of them is our, again, going back to this visit from the orchestra from Germany. We're going to be doing a series of concerts, and one of those we would like to involve as many young people across the city as we can. We'll of course be involving children who are already involved in our ensembles, whether that be from those in primary school who are members of area band or our Connect ensembles, right up to those who are members of our Robin Hood Youth Orchestra. So those guys will know about this and they will be included, but this is open more broadly as well. So if you have pupils in your schools, or if you know as a private individual of somebody who might be interested in getting involved in coming along and playing alongside the two orchestras, the JOK and our own Rio, then please do let me know, and we'd be very, very happy for them to come along. Again, in all of the information about this has been sent out to music leads and admin teams in the school, but if you need me to send that to somebody else in your school, then please do let me know. I'd be happy to do that. And the other event is this is a bit of an invitation and a bit of a I'd really be grateful if you would get involved type of request coming up here. We have an event brand new for this year called Move On Up, and it is targeted at young people moving from year 6 into year 7. We recognise that there is a significant drop off in terms of the numbers of children in a position to play an instrument between year 6 and year 7, and it's a case of, well, what do we do about that? And there are a range of different things. Very simply, for example, we've already sent out a directory of the primary schools to all secondary music leads and admin teams that list the instruments that are played in primary schools, but also any extra instruments that are played that they don't learn with the Music Hub. So lots of information there, including contact details, so that music leads can get in touch with one another and we can actually begin to bring people together across Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 3. We're also putting together units of work for both year 6 and year 7. They're both going to be based around the same piece of music, Twist and Shout, which is one of the Key Stage 3 pieces, which has been identified in the model music curriculum. So it's the year 6 one is quite prescriptive. We recognise that a lot of the year 6 teachers are not necessarily music specialists, so we're providing training for them. But what secondary music leads can get from that is that everybody who takes part in that will have hit certain objectives within year 6 objectives within the model music curriculum, so you can be confident that the kids coming up to you in year 7 have actually met those objectives. They've approached those different strands of learning in a robust way, and that has been assessed as part of the work that they've done with the Twist and Shout unit. The secondary unit that's being put together by Mike Durnell, principally by Mark Durnell from Trinity, is much less prescriptive. Again, it works around the Twist and Shout piece of music, but it goes off in basically a lot of different directions that could reflect the priorities and the different foci of your school. So it's very much less prescriptive. These people are specialists who are likely to be delivering it, so it can be pretty much what you want it to be, but obviously hanging off the back of a piece of music that the children will find familiar, just helping them with that transition process. All of this leads to an event which is called Move On Up, and that is going to be held at the Albert Hall on the 11th of July in the afternoon, and it will be lots of preparatory work, lots of workshops, lots of work that moves towards a big performance at the end of the afternoon of Twist and Shout by the year 6 pupils. And we've got, at the last count, anything up to about 420 children coming along, so there's a lot of them. What we want to do as a big part of that are breakout sessions with music leads or music teachers or transition leads or some combination of those from secondary schools. So if your school is not yet involved and you would like to be involved to meet these children who are coming up to you in September and are anxious to meet you, then please let me know, because you will have your very own breakout session. You will have your very own space to do that within the Albert Hall. Your session can look however you would like it to look. It could be a Q&A with some existing pupils. It could be a little performance from a group of pupils you bring along to just sort of let the children from year 6 know what it is that they can look forward to in year 7 and beyond. It could be an activity that you design. It could be any one of a number of different things, and we will support you with resources, the tech that you need, etc. As long as we know that you're coming, we can pretty much help you with the rest of it. So let me know if you'd like to be involved. I noticed that Blue Coat academies are well represented here this afternoon. We have a lot of kids coming to the event who are coming up to Blue Coat. I would really love to hear from Blue Coat academies, because we've got, I mean, I'm talking hundreds here of kids coming your way, so they are really, really keen to meet you. So please do get in touch and let me know. Other schools well represented within the numbers that are coming at the moment are Ellis Guildford, Genogley City Academy, Oakwood Academy. So obviously we're talking to music leads there as well. And if you guys are watching on Watchback, hello, get involved. Can't wait to see you. I know, Alice, you've got stuff planned in Genogley, and we can't wait to see what's going on there. Oh, and Noosa as well. Lots going to Noosa and Nottingham Girls Academy. I think that's it from me. I'll put my email in the chat. Again, it's hannah.bars@nottinghammusichub.org.uk. Get in touch if there's anything I can do to help you out with music. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Hannah. That's great. Right, so can I come? I think Charlotte will be joining us from the Contemporary soon. She was just running a bit late, but can I come over to Megan now, if that's all right, from Ignite?
Hello, yes. Ignite is we're a small education charity. Our purpose in life is about kind of promoting creativity and curiosity in young people. So we work across the arts and the sciences. So I suppose one of the key things that I'm working on at the moment, so we run the Festival of Science and Curiosity every year. And one of the key things that I'm kind of trying to figure out at the moment is what our schools offer is going to be for the festival next year. Over the past kind of 2 years, it's been very much online and kind of connecting, doing kind of Q&A sessions online with schools. And I'm just trying to figure out what, as we move to a world where schools want to be doing lots more in person, how we kind of make that work. So if anybody in your schools, you have really keen kind of science leads, keen to bring in some kind of extra activity or extra connection with researchers and scientists in February or in the autumn term or in February, which is when the festival is, please, I'll put my details in. Please get in touch, because we want to design something that responds to what teachers want rather than what's easy for us necessarily. Other things that we're working on at the moment, we've pleased that we've had confirmation from BioCity that they're going to support the 5th round of Ada Lovelace Day celebrations that we've done with them. So they've worked with us past 4 years. They kind of have been recently bought out, and we weren't sure if they were going to be up for it this year, but they are. So we're going to be running a series of activities in October. So Ada Lovelace Day is a celebration of women and girls in science. So it will be an opportunity for schools to come over to the MediCity site. So I'll say, if you want to get involved in that, get in touch. We're chuffed that's going to be sorry, feedback. We're chuffed that it's going to be in person again, because we've had 2 years of doing it online, and the other thing to say is, please get in touch if I have emails coming through all the time from researchers and schools that want to be connected. So often we can put you in touch with, if you need an expert on a specific topic, or want some support on a specific area of the kind of science or design or whatever curriculum that kind of connects to researchers, then get in touch, because we can make some links, because there's lots and lots of people that we've worked with over the years that are keen to get involved in supporting schools to engage the kids with science. And yeah, so I think that's kind of it from me. But yeah, I'm kind of trying to respond to what schools want. So if there's any way that we can have a bit of a conversation about that later on, maybe that would be great. Thanks.
Thank you, Megan. That's brilliant. Just 2 more to hear from, I think. So Sienna May, would you like to say a little bit about the Mighty Creatives and the kind of work that you're currently doing to support schools through Artsmark and Arts Awards and things?
Yes, so I'm Shauna May, and I am the events coordinator with the Mighty Creatives, who are the Arts Council bridge organisation for the East Midlands. I work across the organisation organising CPD events and training. I specifically work quite closely with the Artsmark team in terms of that programme of work and organising those training sessions. There's just one thing really that I wanted to share today, and that is that the we just have a grant that has just gone out, which is the Arts Award Startup Package. So that is for any schools who are interested in running, schools, colleges who are running and want to deliver Arts Award qualification for the first time. So with that package, you get 2 spaces on an Arts Award advisor training. You get £1,000 grant towards the delivery and the moderation of your Arts Award, and you get any kind of advice and support throughout the project through kind of online sessions with the Arts Award team. So deadline for applications is the 25th of May at 5 p.m. But I will share all of this in the chat with you. And then in terms of anything else, if you have any questions about anything that TMC is up to or any events, I will also put my email address in the chat for you.
Thank you, that's great. Shana, May, thank you very much. And now over to Charlotte from Contemporary. Thank you, Charlotte, for joining us.
Hi everyone, I think I've got feedback on my computer. I don't know how to change it. Is there feedback? Or is it all right? Sorry. Yes, hi everyone. Yes, I'm the interim schools programmer for Nottingham Contemporary. We have 2 offers at the moment. We've got a offer for self-led visits, which are free for any class or school to come, and we have some resources that can be used to explore our galleries. And then we also have an artist experience workshop, which is £120 for county and 100 for city schools, and that's a tailored bespoke session with one of our associate artists. And our 2 shows on at the moment, one is Assemble and Schools of Tomorrow, the place we imagine, which is a collaborative project with 8 partner schools in the city primary schools, and it looks at an architect, Lina Bobardi, a Brazilian architect who built this imaginary playground in the 1940s, and that was never built, and so Assemble have built 2 of the structures in it, which can be played on, and its relevance for secondary schools is looking at architecture, also kind of public spaces. So the gallery is transformed into a place to experiment and explore. We recently had a teacher CPD where we had Key Stage 3 teachers that came, it relevant as well for thinking kind of about science and maths and that kind of structural element, and the problem solving that comes with it. And yeah, so that's on until September, so it's on over the summer. And if any, to book a visit, they can just contact me. I'll put my email in the chat. We also from time to time have funded projects. So we recently delivered a project with Blue Coat Woollerton and other secondary schools and colleges, including Nottingham College, called Future of Futures, and we had a lovely exhibition in Gallery Zero. And so it's for schools as well, just to kind of be in touch. Obviously our projects are funding dependent, but it's that kind of conversation and that dialogue. So if we know which schools are interested, then when we do get funding, we can just immediately approach different teachers. And we we have long-term partnerships like with our Schools of Tomorrow, but we also like working with new schools and building new partnerships as well. So it's wherever we can, it's always, we always want to work in collaboration. And moving forward, that's part of our mission and visions as well for the Contemporary. We are moving towards a more collaborative way of working, with more exhibitions that showcase kind of collective ways of working as well.
That's great.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Charlotte. I think Martha wanted to ask a question.
Yes. 2 questions. Sorry. Charlotte, lovely to see you. I have got the 16th of June in my diary for Artscape, and I don't have any information about it, but I keep telling my art teacher leads that this is an important date and to please remember to put it in their diaries. Is there anything that you can send? Is that happening? And for those who don't know about Artscape, it's been a long-running partnership with all of the galleries in Nottingham City to come together once a year and to talk about what's coming up in the year. Is that happening?
Yes, and we are in the process of Amanda Mainley is in the process of coordinating that with the other cultural organisations. So we're in conversation with New Art Exchange at the moment to see how they can be represented at the event, obviously with recent things happening. But it'll be like Rosny from Woolerton, and I think Steve, we've been in conversation with you as well, haven't we, about Gallows of Justice being represented there as well. Yeah, so it's in our calendar to be happening on the 16th in the space, and also just to be in person as well as after so long. So yeah, we'll be in touch with information soon. We're aware that it is fast approaching.
There'll be an Eventbrite link.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. When we're all on. There'll be an Eventbrite link that we'll send out to you shortly, and it'll be 4 till 6 on the 16th of June.
Okay, I will say please that I know everybody knows, but this is too late. I mean, it will be too late for some people. So if you know that this is happening, and I've known about it for months, it needs to be out, and it needs to be, you know, it's easier probably to cancel something than it is to give this amount of notice. So we're talking what, 4 weeks at the most. And you know, I just know from schools, I'm constantly being told by teachers, and I totally get it, but it's joining those worlds up. But if they know that it's happening, they will absolutely make themselves available, but they need, you know, lots of notice, at least a term. Because what's great is that if they have got lots of notice, then everybody from the arts team can come. Do you know what I mean? Rather than it's just kind of like, oh God, we've got to get somebody there. So so I've been working hard thinking, well, if they cancel it, you know, I can just go back. But as just a point of information for everybody around the table here, the sooner they know, the better. And I guess you're putting your calendar together. So again, it's kind of like stick it on the calendar for next year, so that we know. That would be great. I'm sorry to moan, but it's
fine. Yeah, it's absolutely been thrown a little bit in
get this information, and it, you know, anyway. So the other question I had was for Sienna actually, and I have emailed you today, but I have been trying to get hold of TMC. But just to say, eligibility for the SUP programme, for the Arts Award programme. So some schools will have had support as part of the group school offer, and does that make them eligible if there are members of staff who weren't trained for Arts Award, just so that we don't write applications that are then not going to be applicable. Sorry, it's a very specific question, but I hope that people watching this recording will also find it a useful thing to know.
Yes, I have seen your email. I've actually forwarded it on to Sophie in the Arts Award team because I'm not sure. So as soon as I hear back from Sophie, I'll let you know. And I'll also send any information on to Kathy so that she can share with it, you know, following up with this.
Okay, I mean, my understanding, just again to be very specific, is that if a teacher is delivering a different level, that is appropriate for the startup. And I have got schools that have, for example, so just to kind of give you an indication of why this is relevant, I have got schools that do deliver Arts Award, but it wouldn't be the same teachers that would be wanted to be trained. So, for example, there's a school that has a new drama head. And they're going to be getting another drama teacher, and they haven't been trained, so they'd be really interested. But the art department do deliver Arts Awards, so I don't know whether we're applicable. So it's that kind of minutiae.
Great, thanks, Martha. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or queries for any of the people that have spoken so far?
Can I just pick a point, Kathy? Yeah, sorry. Yeah. And just pick a point that Martha said about the Artscape event. I mean, I know there's been some time pressures, which is one of the problems we've had to deal with, but things will be coming out tomorrow and it is close to the line. However, what I was just going to throw out there is there are other events happening, such as the Playhouse and Notts County event, which is again promoting those places as well, that's coming alongside. What I'd love to see is like an Artscape Plus. So we have, because it's mainly, you know, a lot of the visual artists, but there's lots of other activity going on. If we could better combine a teachers and providers event, maybe one bigger one, at the right time of year with lots of lead and notice, would that be of more use? Because at the moment there seems to be 2 or 3 of these things happening, which is going to be a pull and a tug on valuable staff time. So I'm just throwing it out there, really.
Can I just reply briefly and just say possibly, but the virtue of something like Artscape is that you get your art teachers in the room and your heads of arts and subject specific specialists who are really interested. So in a way, Artscape works really well, but would there be something for other specialists? Because some staff wouldn't go to something, I don't know, Kirsty, what do you reckon? Or it's taken up by the head of arts, but it doesn't then trickle down and affect the others.
I think what Martin was trying to say was something, so there would be stuff for theatre as well as art, etc. Yeah. Which might be really nice because, well, like this has been, Cultural Rucksack has been great for me to see all the other stuff going on as a head of arts faculty, not just as a drama teacher. I'm like, oh, I can get my art teachers doing that, etc. So something where there is that sort of overall being able to see lots of different things, but also making sure it's got enough really specific for those specific teachers, I think could be really nice, a really nice big celebration of teachers across the city coming together.
Well, we can certainly play around with the idea, put it like that, and see, you know, how we could develop it. And yeah, because I'd like to broaden it out, as you say, and bring other arts and cultural organisations together on the same vein. Because arts, as you say, Artscape works really well. I just thought, well, instead of lots of people going to lots of different events, potentially, could we have one bigger one that's still working at the same sort of level? And you know, Hannah's got a hand up as well now. What have I done?
No, don't worry about it. It was just 2019, I think it was. There was the Day of Possibilities. It was one of the multi-academy trusts that held a big event at the stadium in Derby, football stadium in Derby, where a lot of arts and cultural groups were represented alongside many other things, and it was for a particular multi-academy trust, so it was more to do with bringing people from the schools together, and then a wider offer, arts, sports, various different things. But there would be no reason why, I say no reason why, there's many reasons why, but there would be no reason why we couldn't at least think about organising something similar perhaps for arts and cultural organisations, bringing those together with schools in Nottingham for the city. Plenty of venues that would be happy to host, I'm sure. Like a conference almost, I suppose. That would work.
Yeah, it's just like a big cultural rucksack meeting, perhaps primary, perhaps secondary. We have a secondary one, the primary one, so you can just have that little bit of focus if you need it, which probably is of value. No doubt about that. I thought we'd just play around with the idea, and we could.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I mean that's a good point. I actually coordinated that work. Day of Possibilities, and it was amazing. The thing that I'd note about it is that we'd need a lot of space because we had to program stuff in lots of different stuff was happening, if you remember, Hannah, in lots of different but in the same sort of space, so there was a bit of kind of noise factor.
Okay.
So I'm definitely not against it, but I'm also very in favour of, and it's kind of Kirsty sort of said that, really making sure that specialists talk to specialists, because I think that makes a real difference to them as well.
And if that's like an underlying strap line, if you like, then it might just draw in the people that we need to attract. Okay, we'll start developing the idea, see how it goes.
Martin, can I just quickly ask, you said that the Playhouse had something coming up.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've missed that.
This is the primary, says the Playhouse, doing something with Notts County.
Okay.
Just bringing both organisations, going out to, is that, Martha, you've got your hand up?
I was...
No, nothing's come out about it yet, but the only thing I'm hazarding a guess is that last year the Playhouse worked with Notts County to deliver an awful lot of the fun food activities, enrichment activities in the holidays. Do you remember there was that massive holiday fund?
Yeah.
And the Playhouse supported that work. And my understanding is that they're probably doing something similar.
Okay. Yeah, it's having many of the emails you used to get about sort of the teacher work nights and things like that. There's been very quiet for a while from them.
I think you're about to get the secondary e-news from Maria, who's been working on it today, and a lot of this stuff will be in there.
Okay, sorry, I'll stop taking up people's time.
So we've been gathering all of this stuff, and it'll all be coming splurging back out to you, Maria. She's putting a thumbs up. So yeah, literally, yeah, she's just putting it all together at the moment, so it'll be with you soon. Our e-news come out for secondary teachers and primary teachers every 2 months, and we also we're currently putting together the wall planner for the whole of next academic year. So as much as possible, if challenge, ourselves as a partnership and all of the cultural organisations are aware of, try and plan in so that they're in that calendar, that would be brilliant. One quick forward date for you, the 13th of October is a date that I've scheduled for an arts partnership lab, which is beyond schools. It's schools and communities, but I think that could be it's basically for all challenge stakeholders to come together and explore the ways in which we're working together, how we can collaborate more, our collective action that we want to take. But there will be an element of that that's suitable and relevant for teachers. So 13th of October, just put it in your diaries now, and more details will come through once we've developed the programme together. Thank you, everybody. That's been brilliant to hear all of your updates and things. It's taken a bit longer than we thought, but Martin has also got some key information to share with you and things to discuss. So, Martin, over to you, really.
We've already discussed one of them, so thank you very much. That's out of sync. Right, I'll try and get my share screen going. It's just got to go to... There, excellent. Okay, quick run through. Some of you have seen this already. I do apologise, probably even 2 or 3 times. But bear with me, as I say, this will be going out further than just as I know Kirsty, for example, at Woodlands, has just emailed me to say that she can't quite make it. We'll be following it on as the recorded version later, so that's good. So welcome, Kirsty, when you do get a chance. Just some background to the Cultural Rucksack, and think we've all got our heads a little bit around that now. It's an ever developing thing, and just having these conversations is what the Cultural Rucksack is all about. So very much supports the Worker Challenge, hopefully bringing our partners together, cultural and arts, and trying to develop that really positive interaction between them and our schools. So a long time ago there was a list of tasks, like having a task to do. So this is our task list, turning gradually from red to yellow to green. And I'll come up and pick up on some of those in slides that follow this one also. Now, Martha gave me the challenge of trying to find some secondary case studies. I found a few, but I'm also going to see if we can talk to, is it Noah, who's going to be doing some work for us as a researcher, potentially can help support on that. So I've been having a few emails with him. I know he's talking to you, Kathy, tomorrow, is that right? And we'll see if we can develop some, so we can turn that red a little bit more yellow, shall we? Central booking and transport, I'll pick up on that in just a minute. I've just had a conversation nationally and about that, so we'll see what we might be able to do with that. And again, there was been looking at evaluation impact. So we're beginning to move forward on a lot of the tasks that we have. One of the key ones that everyone told us they needed at the start of all this, we don't know where all the providers are, we don't know where the provision is, what's out there. So this will be one of the cornerstones, if you like, of our Cultural Rucksack handbook. And I know Maria's sweating, they're just pulling this together, been really hard work. Thanks for all the support we've had from providers to get some basic information about their core offer, which is one of the things we've been requesting. And this is the start of our little map. Being a geographer, I always wanted to have one of these in anyway. So just where everything is for new staff potentially who turn up in a school, where can we do things, and what do they do when we get there? So the handbook is all about that. There's a slightly bigger map that can bring in the sort of broader Nottingham as well, not just the centres. That's going to be developed. And then these are what the content, if you like, of our Cultural Rucksack handbook is going to look like. And as I say, a huge amount of effort from Kathy and Maria to pull this together. We've got somebody working on the design for it as well. And yeah, it's looking really exciting. So a little snapshot of what's out there. The core offer was important because it goes back to the issue that Steph was talking about. Well, if you know what they're doing, you can perhaps try and plan in more effective to our curriculum design. the sort of opportunities that are available at the various venues or that are available and provided for by arts, cultural providers and professionals. So it's the beginning of that journey, if you like, and builds on very much on these meetings. In there as well, we've got a little bit about what high quality arts and cultural education might look like and planning a visit. So there's other bits in there just to support the getting out and about element, as well as those who might be going straight into schools and doing schools direct work. So that's a little snapshot about what we're looking to put together. Ages ago, I developed something around the entitlement and had lots of feedback. So this is a bit more then linking, if you like, the providers can do to how it links to curriculum areas. I can go back and develop a more refined curriculum piece that goes alongside the column 1 and column 2, and then link those curriculum bits to organisations, and then in turn what those organisations can offer. So there'll be a little bit more work done just to develop that in the next week or so. Let's get that. I don't know if I should highlight some time in my diary to do it. So we'll look at doing that, which might help schools, especially primary schools planning in particular. Let's have a chat about Key Stage 3 planning at some stage. And again, within the book, we'll be having a little bit about how you go about planning a visit to a particular venue. And then I did some work about where our schools go in the city. And just, I mean, I've shown this to some of you before, but one of the conversations we're having at the moment is that a barrier that's going to be looming up to not only what they do, where they go, is the cost of transport. And this is, in many cases, I come across almost doubling. To hire a coach to go anywhere, the price has doubled, if not gone up more than that. So we're going to have an increasing challenge in terms of getting people out to venues, in particular school groups, I think, coming up. And that could be a bit of a blocker on visits. And it's not just, I've noticed it locally, but also it's a trend nationally as well. So yeah, and I think the other thing that worries me alongside that is our most vulnerable young people, most vulnerable schools will be the ones that will be even more challenged by that, and the cost of visits potentially. Now, it was great music to my ears. I was talking about potential free visits, and I know we heard about National Guards of Justice, there's opportunities for free visits, and that helps enormously. But that cost of transport is going to be an interesting challenge for many schools going in, certainly the next year or so. And I'm hoping we can work our way around it. Public transport's an option in Nottingham to some extent, but again, it is a challenge just managing that with groups of people, but there is that option as well. And so again, just looking at where the venues that people go, and these were just visits 2019, just to get a feel for what's happening out there. And I think for me, I thought, well, crikey, can't we be doing more? But it'd be a challenge to do more at the moment with potentially some of the other challenges schools have. But it's not just the finance either. It's certainly in secondary schools, I'm getting very clear messages that staff cover is an issue when going out and about as well, and also still picking up elements of COVID and that are related to that. Within the document, we're going to highlight some areas where, or what high quality arts and cultural education looks like. Those on Arts Smart journeys will be familiar with this, but just to pick that up and give schools something to just measure and think about. The whys are clear, the arts rich bit is good, and then moving on to look at what effective arts teaching might look like. So just all things that will add value to that little handbook, and picking up this particular piece of work that Christine Hall and Pat Thompson from Nottingham did about what good interaction between providers and schools might look like, and what are the key things that really make it work and make it successful. And a piece of research they did a little while ago now, but out of that they developed this Researching Arts for Partnership organisation, which is looking at really positive case studies around primary sector, but obviously the challenge is to look at some of those in terms of secondary. Yes, I did go to the Artscape event. Sorry, not the Artscape event. The Ensemble event the other day. That's where I got this picture from, and excellent it was too. So yeah, I've got on there the Primary Teachers Forum 19th of May. So it says primary, so that's why you might not have heard about it. So I'm glad I put that in there. And I just talked about perhaps a large arts cultural marketplace, which is what we've just been talking about earlier. So thanks for picking up on that, really useful. Curriculum planning stuff. I've not really looked at Key Stage 3, done a lot of Key Stage 2 stuff now, and that's almost done all the work I was going to do around that. This is what it's looking like for Key Stage 2. And then just some case studies, Martha, just some bits and pieces you're probably aware of anyway, some of you, but again, if we can put this in onto the website, some interesting ones. The Culture Bridge North East was particularly interesting. A range of secondary school case studies and good practice. And slightly older piece of work that was done, case studies by classroom practitioners and Ofsted, which is interesting, which again some of you will come across anyway. And then the culture, creativity and narrowing the gap bit, which I was particularly interested in. Our secondary schools using pupil premium to enrich cultural education, and that might be something that could help support more visits and more engagement. So a little bit of work done on that. I'll try and do a little bit more and perhaps work with Noah on something as well. And then just some government updates. Yeah, in particular one that Cathy gave me about the Young Lives report. Anne Longford, who's the Children's Commissioner for the UK, for England, and part of that elements of her report looking at a fund to try and create some additional support for schools to engage with creative industries and specialists in particular. Extracurricular activities review is being undertaken with DFE at the moment. And then the youth review was also interesting in terms of how that sort of is looking at what young people want to do and how we can better engage them. So just a few little last minute updates there for folks. And I think that should be me done. If I escape correctly, I have done. I don't see all your faces now and you're all upright. So you've obviously not fallen asleep. Oh, there we are. So it'd be interesting to look at a bigger event at some stage, as we were talking earlier, but we'll just take our time and begin to plan that. And it's really, I think for me, in addition to building some more case studies, is what we can do next to help support secondaries. Yeah, trying to encourage more to attend here. I mean, there were a lot of people who said they were going to come, but couldn't do. So is this working? Is it worth having? I'd love to think about this one, a face-to-face at some stage, rather than virtual. Would that help? So just looking at things that we can do to try and help engagement, direct face-to-face engagement at these particular events. So there we are, really. That's me.
Martha came up with a lovely idea. I don't know whether you'd like to mention it, Martha, but at the last operations group meeting, you had a lovely idea about bringing like secondary teachers together to actually go places and see things and visit the theatre and go to art galleries, and it be a kind of a social group as well as a kind of learning and sharing group. And I think that would be really wonderful to develop that sort of aspect of the Arts Hub support network.
Excellent idea.
With kind of discounted tickets or freebies or complimentary tickets from different cultural partners and things, so that there is that sense of just coming together and getting to know each other and connecting with the city.
Yeah, I might need a drink after being traumatised at the galleries one, but anyway.
Stephen.
Just on that note, actually, I reached out to Nottingham Trent and the University of to see if we can start to engage some of their student teachers and skit teachers and all the various ways of education and training to get them into the building, because I think no one taught me when I was training to be a teacher how to do a day out or how to plan it or what a risk assessment should look like, and all of those things. And I think that's something we definitely want to do, but it'd be really powerful to do that for ECTs. You know, there's like recently qualified teachers as well. And in addition, it might be a case of, the Justice Museum's right in the middle. We could team up with someone like the Contemporary or something, and they could do a half day in both. And, you know, just start to see like, oh yeah, that's a risk or something like that. That'd be kind of powerful, I think.
I can bore the pants off you on visit planning, right? So you're all right there.
And actually,
I'll be that day.
And we've been working on a Universities for Nottingham Together project, which is for initial teacher training, like people in their PGCE year. So during that year, we're developing an enrichment programme for with 2 visits per term to 6 different cultural venues. So So yeah, all of that kind of thing is in the planning stages as well, which would be really good. And then trying to figure out whether or not those people that have been part of that programme can become kind of Cultural Rucksack ambassadors or arts ambassadors in some other way, so that there's a sort of alumni, if we're building it into a programme over a number of years, that somehow there's continue that connection with those teachers when they're in there as NQTs in their schools. What is it that they could like put in place? So yeah, I think there's lots of potential, isn't there, for supporting teachers in new ways to connect to the city and get to know Nottingham's offer. Yeah, it's really important.
Kirsty, you got your hands up.
I was just going to say on that, that there's now quite a few massive skit sort of programmes within the city. I know our Academy Trust has a huge skit programme, so not through the university, but also I know Red Hill does, etc. as well. So you've probably got about twice as many learning teachers through those gateways as well. And they'd be in the school ready to give straight back the ideas and hopefully be able to spread them out in the city schools as well. So.
Yeah. And hopefully now we're coming out of COVID, people will be more happier to do that. I mean, I love the idea that Martha's had about, existing teachers getting together. And, it's like, it's much better when you come together and you can have a chat. Because the best thing in any meeting is to have coffee until the credits at the end of the day. Forget the content of the meeting. So,
I did my PGCE and my NQT year down in London, and I'd never been to the theatre as much in my life. Every week I had free tickets to the Globe and to all of the big theatres, etc. And then I came up here and I was like, I don't know anyone in the Midlands. I don't know where I am. I don't know where the theatres are. I don't know any of the other schools. And it did really just feel like all of that was just wiped away from you just by moving out of the capital.
It's set the challenge there, Kirsty. Right, okay.
Sorry.
Okay. I was going to say that we are, teachers are so intensely busy during that day period. And that, although we're not busy, but sometimes it could be easier for us to go meet them. So like Martha's idea, but maybe we go to them, we go to a school rather than expecting them to finish work, get all the kids gone, get all the marking done, get to town or something. Sometimes it's nice to just meet halfway like that.
I quite like the idea of being able to have a drink in town and do stuff with other people.
Yeah, that's more like it. Yeah.
I'm eating Wetherspoons, that'll be fine.
I think, my experience of when I was doing more sort of the strategic stuff, like at College Street, doing arts education coordination stuff, we had some really successful times where we got teachers together for an afternoon meeting, after school, with a sandwich and a glass of wine, and then a free ticket to go to the Playhouse or to see an exhibition or a cultural activity that they are cultural consumers of, rather than it just being about chatting about what they do. So, and that isn't hard to get. If organisations want that to happen, they'll make it happen, and there's been some really good experiences there. But equally, Stephen, I think your point, we did an event at Leesbrook, which is in Derby, which was a celebration of arts award and dance performance and music and drama and stuff. And I invited one of the Reimagine Derby people who's part of this similar sort of setup to here, but in Derby. And actually that was really good for the person who came, Tormar Bay, who was really blown away by the performances of the young people. And actually there's something about a cultural exchange, that there is work being produced that's fantastic by young people. And I think we need to make sure that that balance of recognising that culture is produced in all sorts of areas. And I know we all know this, sorry, it sounds like I'm telling grandmothers to suck eggs, but sometimes we forget that actually the cultural providers in our city aren't just the professional, funded organisations, that culture is produced, and it definitely gave her an opportunity to promote what they were doing to parents as well as kids, but equally it gave her an opportunity to see the work that's being produced, and that's going to set off ideas and understanding and engagement. So there's a range of stuff there that absolutely, and schools always want, it's always great to have an outside speaker come to an arts event to congratulate kids for achieving their success in their arts award, for example. That's what we did it, but it was a win-win in lots of ways. Whilst I'm on it, I'm sorry, just to raise one other question. So one of the things that we're looking at, and I am doing it in Derby, is and it's nothing new under the sun, but they're very, you know, two things really. One is that now is sort of a good time to start thinking about ways in which we could get in touch with students and with ECTs and all of those younger students, because my experience is that that's when they're allowed out, so to speak. Ideally, we'd hit them right at the beginning of the course, because then they can plan cultural activity and visits throughout their training programme. But generally, the door is firmly closed because they've got lots of other things to do. But if there was a programme like I've done things with Skit students where we did a literature tour of the city on possibly one of the wettest days last year, and ended up having a high tea and stuff. But you know, we had a look at all the kind of literary points of the city and worked with a guide about, you know, literary heroes and heroines of Nottingham City, and that was brilliant. That was with a group of newly qualified English literature teachers. So it might be that there's something specific around that could be good fun to do, but definitely visiting organisations. So that's one thought. And then the second thought is about cultural careers. So COVID has really messed up sort of, you know, work experience and all of that sort of stuff. But what I'm looking at and developing with some of the Derby schools, just because the Reimagine project and the Cultural Campus project in Derby offers creative industries career days, is looking at how we can programme those into some of the schools that I work with in Derby with the Archway Learning Trust. And Kirsty, I know, has been very good at organising things like this in the past and is always open to these opportunities again. So something that would be a great offer from Nottingham would be days when kids could go and have activities and talks, but you know, meet the people who are the ones that are working in the creative industries. So people like Charlotte, and how on earth did you get to that job? Do you know what I mean? What was the route? It's not straightforward, but is a really, you know, would be a really appealing thing for people to have a look at, and for that to be not only feeding into the kind of year 10 opportunities that are existing currently at the moment, but also your year 8s before they go on summer holiday, and then join year 9 with views to, by March, make decisions about what options they're taking. And finally, just to say that sixth form and arts activities and arts options at sixth form, and I kind of gave a bit of a bleeding hearts weepy speech in one of the last meetings recently, but there is a huge drop-off of uptake of arts at A level, particularly at schools, right? It can be relatively healthy in colleges, which is great, but there are kids for whom that isn't the best place for them to study their A levels or their BTECs. And all the schools I know are crying out for support in helping students to see the benefits and opportunities and values of studying an art subject at Key Stage 5. So if there's anything that can be done around that, that would be amazing. Okay.
Yeah, so work plan done, Arthur. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
You've just written a brilliant plan for the next like 2 years.
Yes.
I think we should just transcript it and like pull it out and stick it into this Arts Council bid that's got to be submitted tomorrow.
Yes, well done. My goodness, I've submitted mine, so we're I did it on Sunday night. I'm over the moon. The other just thing to say would be maybe that a creative industries element, even just for teachers, you know, what we were talking about with that bigger meet would be also really useful. Can
I ask, just generally in terms of those that are here from arts partners, how do you currently engage with the creative careers agenda at the moment? Because I know in the past, like a few years ago, there was a shared collective kind of work experience opportunity for a week in the summer where the arts partners worked together and had a cohort of young people that went around various places. But in terms of that, like support for schools generally, do you think that idea of having like freelancers or people that are connected to your organisations that are available almost to go on tour as speakers into schools for bright days and drop down days and things is something we should be working towards? And do you do that currently? Sorry, Charlotte, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to mention the work experience that you were mentioning. Yeah. With that work experience, we're not doing it this year for lots of reasons, but mainly because of, well, part of the reason is because of the Contemporary funds it, and it's kind of looking at capacity and kind of, so that model is something we really want to do. And you know, it's great that you have young people who put themselves forward and are selected specifically who want to work in the arts for that, and it'll be something to do next year. It's not that that's completely kind of now off the cards, but maybe it needs to be modelled differently, because it's historically it's coordinated by us at Nottingham Contemporary, and there's just not the capacity there anymore to do that. But it is so worthwhile doing, because they visit Backlit and New Art Exchange, and as you know, it's a full week of meeting different people from different organisations, and also getting that kind of what kind of your map is doing, Martin. The students then get to see, by physically walking around the city, how our cultural organisations exist and where they exist, and like a map of their locality. We always promote careers in our offer because our offer is so bespoke. So when we do have secondary schools that want an artist experience workshop, you know, there's always that offer or question, you know, is there a career slant to this? And if there is, then, you know, we can coordinate that where they meet our front of house team or they meet someone from marketing. And because school visits are obviously always booked with enough notice, that we and because our offer is slightly different, that our core offer is an artist workshop, you know, it is so open that it does allow that planning with a teacher to make sure that it's relevant for the students and the teachers who want to come. And then we have our 15 to 25 as well, our collective. So at the moment we're really signposting young people to attend that. So on the Future of Futures programme with Nottingham colleges and Bluecoat, we it was showing the website, meeting Shan, understanding that they could access this and it was free, and the the kind of requirements for that, which is, you know, that it's drop in and it's, you know, come as much or as little as you want. And we find that's a good way in, because I mean, our assistant curator came through 1525, you know, Nadia Whitome came through 1525. It's like there's the we know that it does you can track kind of young people's journeys through that process as well. So that's our current offer.
Thank you. Yeah. Hannah and Megan. Hannah first.
I was just going to mention that we have in the past run the careers tour, which has visited schools that have signed up. We've had quite a good level of interest from quite a lot of different schools actually in the past. We haven't done that this year, but I do think that Claire, the colleague who puts that together, is keen to start it up again. And if there is need and that's something that people want, then I'm sure she'd be happy to hear about that. So she basically gathers a posse of people around her who have varying careers within what you might call the music industry. So whether that be classical musicians, whether it be music tech producers, whether it be artists who are touring, whether it be roadies, you know, all kinds of different music careers, and you know, they are many and varied. And then of course there's Claire herself, who has had a variety of different musical careers, and obviously currently works with the Music Hub. So it's quite a useful way of showing young people what opportunities there are out there, and that it doesn't necessarily just mean picking up your oboe and going and being in an orchestra. There's lots of different ways in which music can be a path into a really quite fulfilling career. So yeah, if that's something that schools would be interested in starting up again, I'm sure Claire would be interested to know.
Great. Megan.
I was just going to say that we're hosting some work experience year 12s for a week in July, and I was speaking to the careers lead who's organised it about what other placements people are doing, and there was a distinct lack of kind of, they all sounded really boring, like going into a bank and going into Specsavers, and you know, or it just, I think a lot of the way that the work experience weeks are organised by the personal collections of the careers lead, and obviously going into businesses is a great experience for young people, but I think she was finding it difficult to really connect the opportunities, the areas that young people are interested in with the opportunities that are available. So, you know, we were like a science placement where we're not, the kids aren't going to be in the lab with us, but we're going to kind of figure it out and take them around different, speaking with researchers and things. But I think maybe there's an opportunity for Challenge or for some group to link directly with careers leads and kind of promote the opportunities that are in the sphere of culture, because I think a lot of times careers leads kind of aren't aware of that, and it is really based on their personal connections. Her husband works at Specsavers, so that's why I'm giving that. Not dissing Specsavers.
Steve, thanks, Megan.
We've got some university students in with Andrea as part of the sort of creation aspect of the museum, and they have actual coursework they'll do while they're on the work experience. And we have quite a few work experience students coming to us this year. I think we've got about 3 or 4, because we are just a place people can come. It's so big. You could do front of house, you can do the education side, there's a cafe, there's lots of different roles for each day. But we had a chat the other day, and one of the things we realised is we have a lot of students who are neurodiverse, and the museum is a loud, traumatic experience. So we are actually given a job to a student to be the voice of the museum, and they're going to record an audio tour, a primary school student, which then a neurodiverse child or adult can listen to, like the caves that we use, and they can have one to go through, and they're going to get a little photo on the staff board and stuff, and maybe on the website. So it's kind of, we're trying to look for little sort of roles as well as careers, so students don't just get shown what they could do, they actually get something quite cool and unique.
And Martha.
Yeah, thank you. Really, really useful. I want to I just wonder if it's okay to draw a distinction between work experience, which is in huge demand and has huge capacity issues for most arts organisations, large and small, and career information, which is quite different. So I can, what I'm doing, for example, with Derby Theatre, as an example, is that, a group of 30 kids will be going to Derby Theatre to talk to the director about the next production that they're doing, and they will meet the designer and the technician and the front of house and understand how a production is put together with a series of activities. And that might be just a different way of programming opportunity to understand more about creative industries than trying to meet the demands that nobody ever will, because there isn't the funding and there isn't the support of just having 4 or 5 kids coming to do work experience in a highly competitive way. That is really important, and I don't in any way want to deny that as an opportunity, but I think I'm talking about something quite different in terms of it almost being like, a bespoke session that Charlotte was talking about, or, when an exhibition's coming, maybe it's about kind of going this is how an exhibition arrives, and you know the place is completely whited out before it comes in, or do you know what I mean? So it's more about the actual nuts and bolts of what people who are working in creative industries do, rather than providing kids with an experience, a work experience for those few that can jump the hoops and get in. Really, I don't know, does that make sense?
Oh, sorry, Martin, you're on mute. Sorry.
Probably best I am. Yes, it's about raising that awareness initially, isn't it? I think, Martha, we're going to see something like that and just seeing what opportunities there are, and then you can make some more informed choices about whether you want to go and do a work experience in a particular area of that particular art form or location. So you have to have the two, because otherwise how do they know that there are front of house jobs, or there is? So yeah, it has to work together.
I assume that with everybody, you know, with all of the national portfolio organisations having been writing and beavering away with their applications recently, that within the inclusivity and relevance principle that they'll be embedding, and dynamism and ambition and quality, that there is all of this, or have been writing in plans to support creative pathways for children and young people from underserved communities. And so the way in which we can work together on an answer to that question, rather than, you know, it would be brilliant if we could all just read each other's applications, but it would be even better if we could all come together and have some dedicated time to look at this particular question, I think, and see whether or not there is some resource that we can put to it from lots of different places and different organisations, so that that time allocation in developing the resource that can go out to schools, whether that's people or, you know, stuff for assemblies and things that schools and career leads can use, can be brought together. Conscious it's 1 minute
into that.
Yeah.
So we've got a really strong careers team in Greenwood Academy Trust. I can bring Sean. I'm sure she'd help with that sort of.
That'd be really good to have that like proper half-day session on it.
Yeah.
It's 5 o'clock, so thank you so much, everybody. If there's any other things that have been on people's minds, or things that this has brought up for you, please obviously do get in touch with us. The challenge website is just challengenottingham.co.uk. All our details are on there, and it's been a really interesting discussion. So thanks so much for your honesty and for sharing, and for working together in the way that we do.
And we've got a lot to do now. Thank you very much. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming and being part of it. Take care.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
It was good meeting you. Bye bye.